My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you to Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020. That's the blend of food that I feed my dogs. I feed all the dogs at the kennel, and I would highly recommend it for anyone out there looking for a premium food to put your four-legged hunting partner on. Check them out, Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020, or also, if you want a lower protein fat ratio, 2616. Thank you to Sitka Gear. It seems like I live in my Sitka gear this time of year, but I don't mind that at all because I stay warmer, I stay more comfortable, and is just all around the best gear that I have ever worn, especially the waders. I'm starting to use the waders more and more in the season here, so go check them out, www.sitkagear.com. You will not be disappointed. Thank you to Gun Dog Supply. I just got done with my buddies from Gun Dog Supply. We're out in North Dakota, and I would highly recommend you checking them out for anything you need for hunting or training. They're just great people, they're a great company, and they have just about anything that you would look for, both training and hunting wise. So www.gundogsupply.com. And also thank you to Lucky Duck. Go check out their 5-star crash test rated kennel, the safest kennel you can put your dog in. Both the intermediate and the large size. So go check them out, www.luckyduck.com. Thank you to those guys. So before I get into it, I always feel like I'm like obligated, which I am, to talk about those sponsors at the beginning. And a lot of you guys probably fast forward through that, which I totally understand because I do that too. But I really sincerely want to thank Eukanuba, Sitka, Gun Dog Supply, and Lucky Duck because contrary to popular belief, it costs money to make this happen. So, those guys supporting me doing this really does make this happen. And so, sincere thank you to those guys, because without them, this doesn't happen. So we find ourselves in November. So I hope you guys enjoyed that solo episode. I know it's a little unconventional, and I get a lot of questions about it. A lot of the comments I get are, things like, "Well, it's easy for you to do that because you have multiple dogs to hunt." Totally get that. Sometimes I think there's maybe some excuses that are made of why someone can't do it, and if you're not going to do it, like I tell a lot of people to do that, knowing that they're not going to do it. I do think it's the best way to get the best dog in the long run. I do think it's the best way to ease a dog into a hunt and not completely fry their brain. I think there's so many positives to it, and quite frankly, I don't see any negatives to it, which I really like. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm not saying you have to do that where it's should be stamped in pavement. This is how you do this, but I think it's kind of a unique twist in how I proceed with a lot of my dogs. And so it's just kind of an interesting note there. But as we're into November, again, crazy, we're into November. That means we have 2 months now. So we started in September, down in Kansas for dove opener. Then we went to, teal down in Texas. Then we came back for, early honker season here. That was 2 months ago. That's crazy. It was 2 months ago. And so as I look at it, it's like, well, 2 months down, 3 more to go. And so we're dang near to the halfway point. My season goes to end of January with duck season down south closing January 31st. And it's just insane to think of that. And so, I kind of hit that halfway point, and I always start reflecting on my dogs and kind of, what I want to do different, or are there dogs that, just naturally have been on more poor hunts than good hunts, or are there certain dogs that need to get in certain situations, or certain dogs that have struggled in environments I need to get them going on? That's why my note taking, I've talked about this before, I'm so detailed in my notes. I really like writing stuff down. That's where my notes really come in handy, because I can really sit back and reflect on that stuff. So I'll be doing that here shortly. I'll probably talk about that here on one of these episodes of what I'm looking for and why. But yeah, almost halfway, which is great. And for some of you guys, especially if you're hunting up north, you only hunt up north. I mean, it probably feels like it's almost over. So it's just crazy how fast the season goes. But if you're in the north, can't talk today. Hopefully that's not the whole episode. With me being in Wisconsin, I really struggle with this time of year. The reason I struggle with this time of year is because everything happens at once. And it's just so hard to do everything at once. So what I mean by that, so here it is duck season and it is goose season. It is also upland season. So we got our pheasant and our grouse. It's also the time to be in a tree. I'm a huge archery hunter. Love that time. That's really my escape and my me time. This is the time to be in a tree. And then, it's like, oh my gosh. And then, for me, which I never get to do this, I would love to be able to fall musky fish, because, big feed, big baits, big fish. But, it's like, how do you do it all? And so what it comes down to is I just can't. Yes, and I still have a business to run and everything going on, so it's difficult, and that's my problem, my biggest juggle this time of year. And so I want to talk a little bit about upland hunting and upland season. I know this is duck dogs, but I know a lot of people listening here are upland hunters. They upland hunt with their dogs, and currently my wife is in South Dakota. Whitney's in South Dakota, and she is currently, probably not quite yet, she probably has a couple hours until they can go out. I think they go out about 10. And they are, they're hunting out there, and I'm at home. Someone's got to be here with the kids, and somebody's got to juggle everything going on here. And I want to talk about a few things as it pertains to upland hunting. So first off, let's talk about, if you guys have follow Riverstone Kennels, you probably saw Whitney and I did a story to where Whitney was going to choose one of our boys to be her upland dog for the year. So she loves upland hunting, which I mean, I don't know why. We don't have a great pheasant population. We don't have a great grouse population. Yeah, if you go out, you're going to find, probably a couple birds, but it's nothing crazy. But she just loves it. She loves getting out with the dogs, loves watching them work. And I love that she loves it. So that's her thing. She really enjoys that. But we were in a situation where, Sage, who was my female, she's now living with some friends of ours. Very difficult thing, decision, for me to make. But it was a win-win for both of us. For her, her big passion was upland hunting. She loved upland hunting. She was super successful at upland hunting. Really fun to watch. And I guide a couple times a year over at, just at the local game farm here if they have a big hunt or something like that. So those were the big times that she got out. And so some friends of ours, just very tragically fluke, kind of accident, lost their dog. They were devastated. They wanted to get another dog soon. And, they hunt all the time. So Sage this year has already hunted in, I think, 5 different states, and she gets to go out a lot, and I like that. I feel like I made that decision for her, where she lays in bed every night. Where here, we have a 2.5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and a small house, and we have 9 dogs, so they get to rotate in. So they're not they're not all inside every night. We have a beautiful indoor-outdoor area. In our garage, it's all heated, so they're very comfortable, but, she gets to be, babied and coddled, and she gets to have all that attention. She gets to hunt all the time, which I really like, and so I just felt like that was the right decision for her. But it also took away, one of our upland dogs, And Purdy, who has turned into an upland dog by default because Whitney and her are attached at the hip, and she adores Whitney. Whitney adores Purdy, and so she is going to be an upland dog for that main reason, because they're little BFFs. So with that being said, we lose Sage. We're going to, lose Purdy because she's pregnant. So Whitney's looking at me going, I'm going into my upland season and I don't have a dog to hunt. I'm like, all right. So she's like, you got to give me one of the boys. I'm like, can we find another way? Because, and I didn't realize how selfish I was about my boys until now, because, Whitney's like, just pick one. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I love them all for different reasons. I can make reasons why all of them should do this, and I have reasons why they all shouldn't do this. And I know you're asking yourself, why can't they do both? I'll answer that here in a second. But I'm just kind of going through the thought process here. So I couldn't choose. So I go to Whitney, and I'm like, hey, I can't pick. So you have to pick. And she's like, okay, I'll do that. But whoever I pick, you can't argue. And I'm like, all right, sounds good. Well, immediately when I agreed to it, I was like, oh my gosh, who's she going to pick? And I was a little paranoid about it, because I'm like, I'm losing one of my guys, So anyways, we kind of did this reveal live on Instagram, and Facebook. I guess it was on Facebook too. But the reason so some people were mentioning my facial expressions, because I was hearing it for the first time too. And so when she said she wanted Bracken, I was like, okay, and so what's going through my head is, I've told you guys about how Bracken had very less than stellar hunts last year, waterfall hunts. And I just, like, as hard as I tried, could not get him on a good hunt. And then he finally gets on a couple of good hunts, in the last couple of weeks out west. And I finally feel like I'm really rolling with him. And now he's going to go be an upland hunter. And but I also think there's a lot of really good reasons why Whitney chose him, as far as his energy level. He's very athletic, stays very under control, has a very very good knowledge, everything that you'd look for, so I totally get it. So she's currently out there hunting him, and I think today is going to be their first day hunting, so we'll see how this goes. Might even bring Whitney on maybe the next episode or two and talk about that, but or how that hunt went. But why don't I upland hunt my boys? Okay, so there's a number of reasons. The biggest one is that, again, I just don't have time to do it all. Like right now, I'm home. I can't be doing stuff because, got to be training during the day, and, I've got the kids alone, so I can't, be doing all this extra stuff. But if I had time today, I'd be in a tree. Like, that's my me time. That's what I want to go do. I want to go do that for me. I want to go, get on a mature whitetail. So when I am home and I have that time, that's what I like to do. And I travel a lot. I travel a lot for hunting. We'll go North Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Montana, Nebraska, Arkansas, Missouri, and then Wisconsin, Minnesota. Minimum. So we'll have minimum 10 states this year. So I'm on the road a lot while I'm hunting. So when I'm on the road and my boys go with me, that's just what we're doing. And so that's one of the reasons Whitney wanted one that was designated to be her dog, so she could build a rapport, with that dog, get in tune handling, that dog, and be in the field together. And so there's one consistent dog always here for her. A lot of people will come to me and be like, well, do you even like upland hunting? So I always say the same thing. Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. It's not entirely true. I'm just going to be honest with you guys here. So it's not that I don't like upland hunting. It's that I don't enjoy most of the situations that you find yourself in while upland hunting. Okay? So I don't enjoy hunting 15 to 20 guys and every time it'll be, if there's 15 guys, it seems like there's 25 dogs. I don't know how that happens, but it does. I don't enjoy yelling, the yelling and hollering at the dogs that inevitably happens on most hunts. I don't like the whistles going off all the time. I don't like the dangerous situations and shots that you sometimes see. Now, I really enjoy if it's just Whitney and I going out together. I really enjoy if I have a small couple people and we're all on the same page. I really, really enjoy that. Okay. And keep in mind, I mean, I field trialed pointing dogs off horseback for many, many years. So I'm not I'm not turning my nose up to upland in any way, shape, or form. But I don't enjoy those situations. But it's also no different than I don't enjoy waterfall situations that we've got. I've got dogs on the other end that maybe I don't even know that are, breaking, or, people are yelling and screaming out there. Like, I don't enjoy that at all. That's the part that it doesn't intrigue me at all from the upland side of things. So it's the situations. It's not the hunts. It's the situations. And it's funny because I have one of my great clients has turned into a great friend. His name is John. For privacy's sake, I won't use his last name, but John and I, we talk a lot about that because he hunts with a lot of different groups and a lot of different people of how much he enjoys upland hunting, but there's just certain situations that can be very frustrating. And I talk to a lot of clients about that. And the hard thing is that you have a standard for your dog. You have been working with your dog. You want your dog to be under control. You want your dog to be respectful. You want your dog to do what you've been training for. Well, in a big group situation, again, my experience, what I found is that most other people are not that way. Most of the other people, their dog's been laying on the couch, eating fruit snacks off the floor from the kids, all year. And now all of a sudden it's, hey, we're going to go hunt. We haven't even done an obedience session all year, but you know what? We're hunting. The dog's coming with us. We're going. And that's when you get, dogs T-boning your dog, ripping birds out of their mouth. That's where you get dogs that are 100 yards, 200 yards up ahead, running wild, flushing birds. That's where you get dogs that are just, they're starting fights in the middle field. Like, there's just so much that just is like, that's not my cup of tea. Again, it's not upland hunting. I actually really enjoy upland hunting in the right situation. But I also think that that's one of the reasons that draws me so much to waterfall hunting. Not only that it was my first true love, as far as I just got mesmerized by the birds, I got mesmerized with the communication, the calling, the decoy setup, the detail. I'm a huge detail person in life, and so I love the detail it has to go into a spread, brushing the blinds. I just love all that stuff. I love getting up early. I love watching the sunset. I love all that. You'd miss that. And so I think all those reasons pulled me that way. But the one thing from a dog-centric standpoint that pulls me to waterfall hunting is the control. I think most upland dogs, again, not knocking, but most retrievers, let me back up. Most retrievers that hunt upland birds are out of control at least 90% of the time. Now, you can agree or disagree, but again, most, not yours, most, I think, find yourself that way. Next time you're hunting in a group, just watch the other dogs. Watch the other handlers. Watch how many times they call for their dog, and their dog never comes. Right? Watch how many times you hear a whistle be blown or a name get called or, screamed. I had one guy, so funny. One guy dropped off a dog a couple of weeks ago, and he came in, and he was strictly an upland hunter, which is great. We train upland dogs all the time. And he brings the puppy in, and kind of start talking about. And I always talk about what's big picture, what's end goals, right? So we start talking about, and he's like, well, I just I really wanted, this might be my last dog. This might, I really want it done right. I want to enjoy, that time in the field, and just a well-trained dog. Great. His wife was with, and his wife is staring daggers at him. And, I noticed it. So I was like, is there something else? And she looks at it, and she never breaks the stare with him. And she goes, "Why don't you tell him the real reason that you're here?" And he kind of looks at her, and he looks back at me and kind of shakes his head, and he goes, "I'm really here because my last 2 dogs might as well have been named son of a bitch or you mother effer, because that's all that I yelled in the field the whole time that we were out hunting. And it was not enjoyable at all. I was frustrated. I was fed up. And the time that I should be enjoying in the field, I never got to. And I was just mad all the time." And I was like, all right. But that's my point, right? So to be clear, I love upland hunting. I just love upland hunting in the right situations. Now, what I've cautioned Whitney on going out, because I don't know the situation. She's supposed to be in a very small group with a very close client of ours. We have another very good friend, that is out there with her, and so she has people that she knows. But what if, like, sometimes you go on these hunts, you never know. What if you get there and there's 3 times so many people as you thought? What if some of the other dogs are out of control? What if things are, so like we talk about all this stuff because, and Whitney gets a little frustrated, with me when I talk about all this stuff because, Whitney is very half glass full, right? She's very high on life. She's got a great, happy energy. She loves people. She loves her dog. She's going to love being out. She just loves to love things. Great person. I tend to be the other way. I tend to be not glass half full, but I like to look at what could go wrong. So if it does, I have a plan for it, especially when it comes to my dogs. And so one of the things we talked about was, what if these other dogs are out of control and you start to see Bracken? He shouldn't. But what if you start to see him get out of pocket? What if you start to see him get tempted on, whether it's ranging too far, or dog comes to rip a bird out of his mouth and he doesn't like it, or what are repercussions? There's all these things that I'm always thinking about. And, so it was good, I think, for her to have those conversations, to go into this hunt and then just be mentally prepared. So the what if, factors. But I just wanted to clarify that. It's not that I don't enjoy upland hunting. I do. I just want to do it in the right situations. So, but as we kind of go through the season, I'm getting more and more questions that kind of roll in, through Instagram, we really don't get them off Facebook unless you send them to me personally. We don't get them off the business page. So if you're sending them off Facebook to the business page, we don't get them. So either send them off of Instagram or send them to my personal account. I will get them. But I've had I really appreciate more and more people tend to be appreciating that when they ask me a question, I put in a lot of thought and detailed answer. They appreciate it. I really like that. Yeah, I appreciate that because it's, time out of my day that I'm trying to help you for free, right? So I'm getting more and more questions, and I think what's happening is I'm starting to see a trend. So see if this helps you, or see if this, this hits you, or maybe one of your friends or something like that, right? So I'm going to give an example. And when I use your examples, if you guys are listening, please don't take it that I'm ragging on you, or please don't take it that I'm calling you out or anything like that. I don't use names. Once in a while, if I get one that's like way off, I'll rag on you a little bit, but it's all in good fun. But here's the trend that I'm seeing. So let me use this example, because I've gotten 4 messages in the last 2 weeks that have been eerily similar. Okay? It's weird how these trends go. Really weird. But these four messages have all gone something like this. Hey Josh, really need some advice here. I have an issue. Okay, what's going on? Well, I'm really struggling with my dog breaking while we're in the field, and I really, need to know how to, correct it. Okay. So 1, go listen to the solo episode, and that's one of the big reasons we do it. But 2, it's an obedience issue. Can we all agree on that? If your dog is not sitting and being still and he's breaking before he's told to, it's an obedience issue. So that's my answer. Well, if you're having an issue with breaking, it's an obedience matter. You have to go back and work on your obedience. Well, no, his obedience is pretty good. It's the breaking that's the issue. So my response is, I understand, but it's an obedience issue. Your obedience is not good enough if, when you get into distracted environments, that the dog is not obedient. Okay, so you have to go back to sharpen up obedience. And then, there's one guy that's very blunt. He's like, no, I really don't think you're understanding. His obedience is fine. It's breaking while the shots are going off or the birds are coming in. That's my issue. And it took everything into me to be like, no, you don't understand. I was very polite. I was like, I do understand what you're saying. What I'm telling you is that, so you guys see where I'm going with this. It's very repetitive. So here's my trend that I'm seeing. I am seeing that, and we've talked about, first let's talk about the obedience side first, because I've talked about this before. Like, it seems like nobody wants to do the stuff that's not sexy, the stuff that's not fun, the stuff that's not exciting, the stuff that you can't put on social media and brag to your friends about, right? Nobody wants to do obedience. Here's one thing, though. I bet from all the hunts that I've been on this year already, the number one compliment that I've got is how well-mannered my dogs are. It's not the 700-yard blind that Brock ran earlier this year. It's not the rain out that Clyde stepped on 8 different marks. He had to handle a couple, but 8 different marks. Boom, 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 boom. Crazy, right? Super, super cool. It's not, it's not Strike running down this cripple that stays, that half inch in front of him for so long and finally, grabs it. It's not like, there's so many of these awesome times in the field that I'm like, oh my gosh, the number one compliment I get is how well-mannered the dogs are. And what really hit me is we had a really slow hunt in North Dakota here last week or 2 weeks ago now. And it hit me. I turned and I looked at them and I'm like, we've been sitting here for 2 hours. The birds are going water to water. We're not getting anything to even come, take a look. And I don't even know you guys are there. You're so calm and so quiet and understand your job. That's obedience. Okay? So I get nobody wants to do that, but you can't even do the fun, exciting, sexy, show-off things if you don't have this. At the end of the day, this is what most people need. Just obedience. But, a little bit of sidetrack there. Apologize. Here's my trend. My trend that I'm seeing is that people are having a difficult time identifying the root of the issue. And I think the reason that people are having a hard time identifying the roots of the issue is because oftentimes the root of the issue seems very elementary. You have a dog that is breaking. You have a dog that you worked all summer on, running blinds, casting. You feel like your dog is advanced, but he's breaking. So when I tell you that it's an obedience issue, in your head, you're like, obedience? Like, we mastered obedience, a year and a half ago. Still doesn't mean it's not the issue. Sometimes I think we get blinded by what we want instead of throttling back to a reality of what is actually going on. Okay, so example, very good friend of mine. We were in a group training session. Okay, we were in a group training session. This was probably about a month ago now. Yeah, probably about a month ago. We just had, when I say a group training session, we just happened to have a couple clients that were all friends, and they all wanted to come together. Great, so they all come together and we did a group training session. So during this session, there was a dog and a handler there, and I know he listens to this, and I know I'm going to get a message off of this. It's okay. This is a great lesson. You've overcome it. Okay, this is a great story. In that session, there was a dog there with his handler, owner, super, super dog. This is a dog that I had a season title on by 10 months old. This is a dog that was incredibly advanced, for his age. This was a dog that was super intelligent, super driven, super composed, super under control. When they came for that group session, it looked like that dog didn't even know his name. That dog was bouncing all over the place. He was out of control. He was breaking. He was not wanting to honor. He was not, the things that this dog was doing. And I'm sitting there watching this, biting my tongue. And I'm watching the owner get frustrated. I'm watching him, get upset. And he kept saying the same thing. He doesn't do this at home. He's still a puppy, and he's making excuse after excuse after excuse. The root of the problem was standing right next to his dog. Owner didn't have control. The owner didn't have the leadership. And so what happened was, I came over and said, I'm going to use the name Tom. Not his name. I'm going to say, Tom, mind if I jump in here? He's like, yeah, for sure. I came over, I snapped my finger, said, heel. We walked. That dog was perfect for me. Never challenged me, never broke, never was out of control, obedient all over the place. That dog was, not once challenged me. The root of the problem was not that he was a puppy. The root of the problem was not that he hasn't seen other dogs in a while. The root of the problem was he didn't have the leadership he needed. Okay. So I'm going to tell you guys something that, I said it the other day. I've probably heard this somewhere a long time ago. I'm not taking credit for this quote, but I said it to a buddy of mine, Brett, while we were driving back from North Dakota, because it just hit me as I'm reading some of these messages. They're asking for help, and I turned to Brett and I said, "You know what I've realized? I've realized that if people could understand one thing, that it would open their eyes to so much, which is the biggest battle that you have going on is you versus you." Think about that. The biggest battle you have going on with any issue you have in life, more than dog training, in life, is likely you versus you. But let's bring it back to dog training, because I don't want to get too crazy deep on this, because I that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I went a lot of different ways, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is, it could apply to my employees, to my life, to my business, and I was just, I went down this rabbit hole, and I thought it was great. It was just one of those moments that you're like, this needs to stay, in the back of my mind. But as it pertains to dog training, the biggest issue is not you versus the dog. It's not the dog versus the environment. It's not, the dog versus the hunt. It's not the dog versus the situation. It is you versus you. Because if you can't identify what the root of the problem is, you will never be successful. If you can't put your dog in situations to be successful, especially as a young dog, you are going to fail. Okay? If you can't be the one to not shoot with a young dog because you need to be handling, but you just can't avoid the temptation of having to pull the trigger, you are fighting you. It's not fighting the dog. Most of our dogs want to please us. Most of our dogs want to work, and most of our dogs want to make us happy. It's up to us to lead them down the correct path to be successful. But we need to be the ones to step back and be able to look at ourselves. How do I become a better handler? How do I handle this situation properly? And how do I make us as a team successful? That's what I want you to think about. As you go into your back half of the season, as you go into your training touch-ups here as you're in season and try to fix a few things, identify the root of the problem. Step back and say, okay, what can I do? What can I evaluate? And what can I do as a handler to improve? If you do that, I promise you, the back half of your season is going to be much more successful. Think about that. Let it sink in. Go apply it. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes. And a special thank you to DUK, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.